Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to City Hall for tonight's City Council meeting. My apologies. The meeting is called to order. I kindly ask our recording secretary and city administrator, Ms. Dawkins, to please take the roll call.
Bruno?
Here.
Tara? Clements?
Here.
Ruby?
Here.
Caven?
Here.
Kilberg? Maladra?
Here.
Marks?
Here.
McGowan? Swanson?
Here. We begin tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like to invite, how about we invite Mr. Davids to lead us in the pledge? Thank you, sir.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Item number 3, ladies and gentlemen, on the agenda is any new business by any member of the City Council and/or community or public comment. I'll defer to the members of the dais. Any new business anyone would like to share this evening? Any public comment from anyone in the audience tonight regarding any topic whatsoever? Very well. We move on to item number 4, public hearings, special items, and presentations. Item 4A is the introduction of City Engineering Associate Brian Davids. Mr. Davids, come on up to the podium, sir. How are you, man?
Good. How are you all?
Good. Now, Mr. Davids, this is so ironic. You were hired March 2nd.
Yep.
So really, this has been a breeze, man. It's like
Oh yeah, nothing about it. It's
nothing.
Just show up to work every day, right?
I think I met you on week 1, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I was over there visiting
Yeah.
and saying hi, and you were fielding phone calls left and right regarding all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
My cheat sheet says here that you were born and raised and currently live in Aurora.
Yep.
Are you a Blackhawk?
Yep.
West Aurora, okay. You're an Eagle Scout.
I am.
That's pretty cool, man. And you trained local teachers in CPR.
Yep.
Do you still do that?
No, that was so my dad was a CPR instructor, and so I got some of his guys. And
Oh, that's cool.
Got local stores like the Jewel Osco and
Yeah.
to get like snacks and coffee and all that type of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure that everybody was safe.
Are you the only Eagle Scout in your family?
Yeah.
Very cool. The city attorney will be happy about this one. Alumnus of the University of Illinois.
Nice.
Bachelor of Science in Civil and Environmental Engineering. Focused on environmental hydrology and hydraulics, Mr. City Attorney.
That just means water resources.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
I like the double H,
Stormwater,
man.
stuff like that.
Check this out. Played sousaphone in the Marching Illini Band. Traveled to the Rose Bowl and Texas Bowl. Okay. What is a sousaphone?
It is, a lot of people think it's called a tuba. It's the one with the bell that's above your head.
Do you play in a band today with that?
No.
No?
No, I miss it, but it's,
Do you miss it?
yeah, I do. But it's a couple $1,000 instrument. And
Is it really?
It's, I could play in the American Legion Band or something, that would be fun. But parades are not really that fun, to be honest. And that's kind of, to my knowledge, what they do with them. So,
Yeah. So did you play that in high school too? And then off to U of I, and you had to try out for the Marching Illini, though.
yeah, you have to audition.
Wow. And forgive me for my ignorance, but how many sousaphone players are there in a band, marching band? Does anyone know?
It varies band to band, but the Marching Illini marched 16, but we had up to 20, so we could have alternates and,
Really?
basically this person's not doing it well this week, so you're pulled.
So it's like the movie Drumline. If you don't, you compete almost week by week to see who's gonna.
Drumline was a fun thing to watch.
Not terribly
having
accurate then?
had the experience. It's not really like that, but
it's
there
a
are
good
some
movie.
similarities.
Wow. You have 2 sons. We were just talking about them. They returned to preschool today.
Yeah, their first day back at daycare in almost 4 months.
So Logan's about to be 4. Logan's 3.
Yep,
And Levi is 1.5, correct?
yep.
and your wife Dana.
Yep.
Now, your wife Dana has a big job. Head of Customer Relations for VWR Scientific, located right here in the Batavia.
Yeah, she's the director of customer service for the Batavia location.
Unbelievable. And Brian was telling me that while working at home these last 4 months, Dana was working with the 100 other customer service representatives that report to her, while also hanging out with Logan and Levi.
Yep, big job.
Wow,
She's something.
I bet.
Yeah.
She must be very proud because she's not with you tonight.
She's Levi's already sleeping,
Oh, is it good?
so I think her and Logan are watching right now.
Oh,
online.
good. Say hi to him.
Hey Logan, hey Levi, hey Dane.
That's awesome, man. You enjoy cycling.
Yep. Yeah, haven't been able to. It was hard to get out with two little kids.
I bet.
Trying to juggle who's home, who's got time to do what, and then neither of them were really big enough to go into the forget what it's called, the
Yeah, that thing that
the thing
tags
you
along.
take behind you.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of both big enough, but then then COVID hit and it's hot and
Of course.
there's always an excuse to not be
Sure
outside
is.
exercising, but I love doing it when I have time.
Now, when you go out and cycle, how far do you ride?
I've done, I think the farthest event I've done is 62 miles.
No kidding.
That was probably 6 years ago. I couldn't do that right now.
So you, according to Mr. Babica and Mr. Sharber, you ride your bike to work, is that correct?
I haven't, but
Okay,
I'd love
sorry.
to.
Did I misunderstand you, Brian?
It's certainly something I could do and I'd like to do in the future, but I haven't yet.
I know. You hope to get back to long rides now that the kids are big enough for their bike trailer. It's the bike trailer.
Yeah, the obvious word.
Now, you and I had a chance to, again, briefly visit shortly after you were brought on board. And you have, besides all this, you have a pretty cool background. Do you want to share anything else with all of us?
I'm not sure what specifically you're referring to, but I guess if we're talking career history,
Yes.
I worked in the last 5 years, I worked at EN Engineering in Warrenville, which is, I was doing natural gas and petroleum stations. So if you're looking at these little gravel things on the side of the road with pipes sticking up, vans
Yeah.
sticking up, I did a lot of those. I also did a couple tank farms down in Texas. So you've got, these, 100-foot tall tanks with they're storing petroleum. I designed a couple of those.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So the ones we see over near O'Hare Airport off of 90, is similar kind of tank field that Citgo has and everybody else?
Yep. Yeah, I've done a couple of those. I think I did one in Central Illinois. I'm forgetting where exactly that is. But yeah, I did some of that. Before that, I worked for 3 years at Walker Process Equipment in Aurora, and I designed a lot of the type of equipment that we have at our sanitation.
Oh, that's cool.
Our waste center. A lot of that equipment comes from Walker, actually.
Got it. Is that Walker Engineering?
Walker Process Equipment.
Walker Processing, okay.
So they're a manufacturer. So
Got it.
I was upstairs. There were just a handful of engineers, and we design. We get specifications. Say, okay, we want this size tank. We want this much throughput, and then we would work with the manufacturing wing downstairs and actually get everything made.
Wow.
And then before that, I worked very briefly as a environmental consultant. So that was a pretty brief stint. That was my first job out of college.
But certainly the environmental component comes into play when you're designing oil tanks or what have you.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So far, so good at the City of Geneva?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
excited to not. I'm excited for more of the people to come back to the office and more of the resources to be available in terms of the wealth of knowledge that these guys have, and just being able to work a little more fluidly. That'll be nice.
Oh, that's cool, man.
So,
Anything else we should know about you?
nothing I can think of right
Nothing that you want to share?
now. Yeah.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Davids from the dais?
Okay, I'll put you on, hold on.
This is Dana, just so you know. This is Mrs. Davids. We're delighted to have you on board. And thank you for coming out with us tonight. We appreciate it. I know that you've been working your tail off as well, as have all the staff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Been a lot going on with the big flood that we had a month and a
Yeah.
half or whatever ago.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Way back in May. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Lord. Well, thank you again and welcome aboard.
all right. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Now we all know what a sousaphone is. Mr. City Attorney.
Good to know.
Mr. Davids, the city attorney actually played the triangle in the Marching Illini. He was- The battery. Alderman Kilberg has joined us by phone, ladies and gentlemen. Alderman Kilberg, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm here.
Great. Item 4B, ladies and gentlemen, consider mayor's appointment of James Kafer, Mr. Kafer, to the Strategic Plan Advisory Committee. All of you should have Mr. Kafer's information in your packet. All of you probably know of Mr. Kafer's previous career as athletic director at Geneva Community High School. He was also recently inducted into the Geneva High School Sports Hall of Fame. We're delighted that he is going to be loaning us his talent and his passion for the community, and I'm delighted to put his name in formal nomination. And if he's tuning in, thank you, Jim, very much. Any questions or comments? If not, a motion would be in order. Alderman Clements makes the motion. Second. And Alderman Ruby makes the second. All in favor of the appointment of Mr. Jim
To do a
Kafer
roll call just because we have
will
to.
require a roll call. Madam Recording Secretary.
Bruno,
Aye.
Clemens,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Shoulder guy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Unanimous. Welcome aboard, Mr. Kafer. Thank you again. Item 4C, folks, consider mayor's reappointments of reappointments to the city's boards and commissions. You all have a list that was provided in your packet of those who are being reappointed, been invited to be considered for nomination, I should say. Any questions or comments regarding those reappointments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to make those reappointments
So moved.
put on the floor. Alderman Bruno makes the motion. Alderman Swanson makes the second. Last chance for questions or comments. A roll call vote is necessary. Ms. Dawkins?
Clemens,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Shoulder guy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously, ladies and gentlemen, or I should say 8 of the 10 votes. Item 5, folks, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments this evening by any member of the City Council? Seeing none, hearing none. Item 6 is the omnibus agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered to be routine and can be enacted with one motion. Is there a motion to put this on the floor? Alderman Swanson makes the motion.
Second.
Alderman Bruno makes the second. Any questions or comments regarding the items contained therein? Madam Recording Secretary, please take the roll.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Shoulder guy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Clemens.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 6 passes with 8 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 2 absent. Item number 11, municipal bills for payment. We kindly ask our recording secretary to read the bills in their aggregate for our consideration.
Municipal bills for payment total $3,811,937.87.
Mayor, I move that we approve and pay the bills as read. The individual items that add up to that amount can be found in tonight's packet on the city website.
Alderman Bruno makes the motion to pay the bills as presented, which are also available on the city's website and in the council members' packets. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Clements. Any questions or comments regarding the bills as presented? Seeing none? Hearing none? Ms. Dawkins?
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Shoulder guy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Clemens,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
8-0.
The motion passes with 8 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 2 absent. Item 12, Committee of the Whole, items of business, there are none. Item 13, presentations of ordinances, resolutions, petitions, and bids. Item 13A is to consider approval of resolution number 2020-39, suspending special event review approval for events occurring on or before October 1, 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bruno. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Maladra. This matter is on the floor. A brief introduction by Ms. Dawkins, and of course, our Economic Development Director is present this evening as well.
Thank you. So the city authorizes special events that take place on public property through the special event application. Private property events are not deemed to be special events under this provision. While we recognize that special events draw people to the community, benefiting restaurants and merchants, it is also important to evaluate the impact of using public property for organized events, given the close concentration of expanded outdoor seating areas and current social distancing challenges. For the council's consideration and discussion this evening is a resolution to suspend special event review and approvals for events occurring on or before October 1st, 2020, on public property. It should be noted that several other communities have taken similar steps to cancel summer and fall events, including the city, Elgin, Glen Ellen, St. Charles, and Batavia. The Phase 4 guidelines under the Governor's Restore Illinois Plan limits any gathering of more than 50 people, as in-person contact presents the greatest risk of transmission of COVID-19. Individuals are encouraged to continue limiting in-person contact with others and to expand their social contact cautiously. Gathering remotely continues to be the safest way to interact with those outside a household or residence. Conventions, festivals, and large gatherings are not permitted until Phase 5 of the Restore Illinois Plan. I would emphasize that the events that we are talking about this evening are only those that would be required to go through the city's special event application process. And again, Director Timoshenko is here as well if you have any questions regarding this issue.
Any questions or comments for either Kathleen or Stephanie? Yes, Alderman Clements?
Thank you, Mayor. Just, what would be an example of an event that wouldn't have to go do this?
That wouldn't have to go through, so for example, the Park District is having their Wednesday night concerts. That is on Park District property. So the city has no involvement, it's not on city property, so we don't do that. If it's a private event on private property, the city would not be involved. It's only if it's closing city streets, using city sidewalks, using city parking lots, those
So
kinds
this
of.
applies to anything that would be on city property?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And my second question.
And that would include athletic events as well. So runs go through, we close streets down for that.
Is there something, do we know something about October 1st? Is there a reason why it's October 1st, not November 1st, or?
Yeah, we picked October 1st because the outdoor dining right now, originally we had thought that would go at least through Labor Day. Looking what other cities are doing, it looks like we are now going to extend that through the end of October. Obviously, if the weather stays nice, we might as well continue. So we were trying to tie it with that because quite frankly, right now with all of the outdoor dining establishments, if you've been around, we've kind of allowed them to take up every possible space that's there. And so therefore, we were trying to coincide with when that might go away, when we would be able to resume.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Alderman Caven.
Thank you. So the email that we received from the Geneva Chamber in regards to the Festival of the Vine, or Festival Off the Vine that they were calling it, where they were indicating that they wanted to at least maybe try to hold off until later in July to see if they might be able to do that smaller concentrated where it didn't exceed the 50 number of people per like a 2-hour session, to still try to have some type of things for those downtown merchants and restaurants well, first of all, I'm happy that we're going to be extending the outdoor dining and everything through October. But is it possible, would they still have access to a space, even with the expanded outdoor dining that we're looking at, and still maybe be able to hold this in that second weekend in September?
Again, that would be up, I don't know if you want it, but that'd be up to the council. Part of our concern with that is not just them having a timed event. And again, this wasn't let me first preface, this was not because of that. That happens to be one of the festivals that would be affected by it, but that's not why the recommendation came forward. But part of our concern is when we have these events and we get the complaints about how many people are there and the social distancing, that involves then our police officers. And so then now we're putting our police officers in a position of having to monitor and police that situation. It's also using city resources, and then if we are trying to go through the process of approving these events only to find out later that it's not feasible, again, it's a staff time issue. And so we're trying to be, I think what we're trying to do is be consistent and follow the guidelines as best as we can within the ramparts of the law.
No, and I think that definitely makes sense. I guess, I don't know, in looking at sort of what their idea was, I don't know how many additional people, if it's limited to 50 people, I mean, if you go down 3rd Street, which I'm very happy to see people socially, still distancing, but I mean, if you go down on 3rd Street on a Friday night or a Saturday night when it's been 85 degrees, there's still quite a few people down there supporting those businesses. So I guess, I just didn't know if there was a way to make it to where we put it to September 1st instead of October 1st, to at least buy them a few more weeks to see if they think it looks more feasible for them to be able to do that. And I don't want it to take a bunch of additional staff time or anything like that, but if we could at least stall it off a few more weeks, that there may be some hope that they could do that, I would certainly support that. I mean, I understand everything that's in here and why these, parameters are being looked at. But if there's a chance that they might still be able to host that event, I would be in favor of maybe looking at September 1st versus October 1st with the idea that it maybe still needs to be extended as long as the outdoor seating for the restaurants and everything is still definitely extended through October. But I would be willing to try to help buy them a few more weeks before it was completely shut down and no longer at least a possibility.
So I guess my only concern with moving it to September 1st means that we're reviewing it now, and reviewing it now, our recommendation would probably be not to approve it. Now, we will continue to monitor the guidelines. I know that every day DCEO is putting out updated guidelines, and should the governor's guidelines change, because he said he will be reviewing Phase 4 as we go, certainly if those change, we would come back to you and say, hey, the guidelines have changed now as of, let's say, August 15th. So now we think we should revisit this. But we were trying to put a date out there so that we're not reviewing things now for a date in the future, knowing that where we are today, we would not recommend approval. It's kind of a balance.
Yeah, no, I know that none of this is normal. I know that it's very difficult decisions to make all the way around. And I do understand that. I wish that there was something else that we would be able to do, or at least try to stall it off a little bit. I don't know if anybody else feels the same or feels differently. I'd be happy to hear from anybody else. But thank you. I appreciate the information.
Certainly.
Alderman Bruno, and then I'll ask Alderman Kilberg if he has any comments after you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure everyone here has great empathy for all the merchants and the chamber on these types of things, but the example that we're seeing of opening too early across the country, I think it's much better to stay closed too long than open too early, I think, in my experience, and from what I'm seeing, so I'd be supportive of this. Thanks.
Alderman Kilberg, do you have any comments or questions, sir? Anyone else from the dais? Alderman Marks, anything from you?
No, nothing from me. Thank you, Mayor.
We have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Dawkins, please take the roll call.
Kilberg,
Silver guy.
Maladra. Aye. Marks,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Clements,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Nay.
7-1.
Motion passes with 7 affirmative votes, 1 nay vote, and 2 absent. Item 12B, folks, is to consider approval of resolution number 2020-40, extending the preliminary planned unit development plan approval granted by ordinance number 2018-25, related to the redevelopment of the property located at the northeast corner of West State Street and Richard Street, commonly known as the Citron property. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Clements,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Ruby. Ms. Dawkins?
Okay, thank you. On July 9th, 2018, the City Council approved Ordinance 2018-25, granting a preliminary planned unit development approval related to the redevelopment of property located at the northwest corner of West State Street and Richard Street, as the mayor just indicated. The zoning ordinance requires that the final planned unit development plan to be submitted within 2 years of a preliminary approval, unless additional time is authorized. The The applicant has requested a 6-month extension of the preliminary approval, extending the deadline for final plans to be submitted to January 9th, 2021 from July 9th, 2020. This evening, I believe we have Jake Finley and Jace Murray present for the applicant, and also Director DeGroot is here if you have any additional questions.
Are there any questions from the dais for either Mr. Finley or Mr. DeGroot? Alderman Bruno, forgive me, I couldn't see your hand raising because of the, perfect.
I think last time we discussed this when it was pulled and they had a deadline. I argued this, I didn't feel this was the highest. Microphone, please. Thank you. So when this is before us before, I had argued I didn't think this was the highest and best use for that property, and I would support going up to the deadline, but not beyond. So I'll be voting against the extension. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else from the dais? Alderman Kilberg, any comments or questions for either Mr. Finley, Mr. Murray, or Mr. DeGroot?
I don't have any questions.
Alderman Marks?
No, no questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else from the dais? Mr. Finley, did you want to say?
Just to say a few words or no?
Of course, absolutely.
So interesting comment. Very curious to hear if you have any response on.
Jake, just for the record, it's Jake Finley.
Jake Finley. Yep. Thank you.
Finley.
Ley. We agree with you, and we've spent a lot of time on this, a lot of money of our own time and money on this, and so, you know, what we found is that, you know, what the plan that was approved, part of this extension is, you know, still figuring that out, right? And so, I think, you know, one of the reasons we wanted to be here tonight in person and not just have you vote on this was to hear your comments and feedback on where council stands on what was preliminary approved and what the status of, or what you think might be highest and best use. And I'd love to start with you, Alderman Bruno, and just, you know, in just a 10-minute or 2-minute dialogue on that point, because we agree with you.
Well, we're overweighted in single-family detached, and I thought it was unfortunate that we didn't get a chance to vet the previous project in front of the council that was here. Higher density.
We agree. We'd love higher density. So we've put together some revised plans that we're contemplating, you know, townhomes primarily. We think we can get up to 55 townhomes. We've been approached by some senior housing developers as well to do a potential senior housing development that would mirror on, you know, times 2 or 3 or 4 the development at 25 and 38 across the river. And again, this is, you know, the vote is at hand, but just really wanted to use this time and hear your thoughts.
I could continue on with what I said then. So I also think, well, first of all, the senior housing sounds wonderful, because I think what I am on a mission to find is get more one-story living options. So senior living, no stairs, that would definitely pique my interest. Thank you.
So if we presented something similar to what Marquette showed years ago, which was run out of town in a way that nothing else has been, but was directed only at senior housing, right? Density similar, no children, obviously, because we've got senior housing only, so it doesn't affect the schools. How would that be received? Again, we're talking, but anyone else is free to.
Yeah, I would caution, of course, it's a tough discussion to have so that we don't leapfrog the role of Planning and Zoning Commission, of course. But
sure.
In terms of spitballing, as the word is.
I think our zoning is in question in general. It's going to be a PUD. It would be a totally new
Sure.
process.
Sure.
And so just spitballing, Mayor, sorry.
No, that's okay. The matter on the floor, of course, is extending this. Alderman Caven?
Sorry, I guess this is more of a question. I wasn't here when this was initially approved or anything like that, so forgive me if I don't know the full backstory. So, but you're looking for an extension, but you're ultimately saying you're not exactly sure what your proposal is going to be. I mean, if we're gonna look at this, okay, extending, you have another year,
6 months.
well, 6 months. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah, no problem.
seeing July of 2021. Okay, so 6 months. But are you basically back at, more of the drawing board versus what was initially proposed? Is that accurate? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to fully understand here.
I think that's fairly accurate, and I think that, the message we received from the market was similar to what Alderman Bruno just described, was that the saturation of single-family homes, especially in that $7 to $1 million price point, there's plenty of options. And so, this extension is a bit of an insurance policy because we've spent a lot of time and energy on that plan. We like that plan. It's not a disingenuous extension by any means. I don't want you to hear that, but we are evaluating all options. And so that's where, in this conversation to talk about that extension, having this conversation is of value to us, to decide whether that extension and that final PUD is the route we take, or if the council is aligned with Alderman Bruno on that. That's not the highest and best use, and maybe the market doesn't think that either, and it would be back to the drawing board, which is it's a huge decision for us, right? Because we've spent a ton of time and energy and money on the plan at hand.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Alderman Kilberg or Alderman Marks? Any?
No questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Alderman Okay. Alderman Clements, then Alderman Swanson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to kind of continue on something you'd said about getting our ideas or feedback and spitballing, and you'd mentioned Marquette and how they were run out on a rail. Just speaking personally, I think, and I don't know how you'd best go about doing this. You've talked about the market, you want to hear our input. I think you also might want to talk to the neighborhood, to reach out directly to the people who live over here, because that's who's going to care the most about what you do there. And I would just recommend that you get in front of any misconceptions, misperceptions people might have about what you're doing, and then come back to us, because that's how you can avoid a lot of big fires from erupting. So that's from a spitballing perspective, that's the best thing I can tell you. I'm not going to tell you what you should build there.
Sure.
But I would recommend talking to the neighborhood directly, how to best do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we did a lot of that during the first, preliminary PUD with the public hearings, and there was a lot of those folks showed up, and there was, a lot of positive feedback, very, very little negative feedback, and I think, at this point, it has to make sense, right? Our initial PUD has a retail component, and the city has been very adamant about a retail component to the site, the gateway to the city. Again, we're developing property all over the country. Thank goodness we're not developing any retail property anywhere in the country right now. But we are in the form of warehouses that are sending e-commerce packages to folks' homes. And so that's one of the things that that's just part of this, right? And so we want to do something that, again, is meaningful, but also makes sense, right? I mean, I don't think if you poll any downtown retailer or restaurant, they want another 5,000 square feet of brand new retail space to compete with their space or their restaurant or their vacancy across the downtown corridor. And so, we want to be mindful of that, the location where it's at and what we're doing, but also mindful of the financial risks and the market and what the market is dictating.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Alderman Swanson.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with many of the sentiments that Alderman Bruno mentioned. My question to you, I guess, is 6 months enough time to come up with a new plan or what you want to do? And are we issuing an extension of the currently approved plan, or are we really saying you have 6 months to determine if you want to go forward? I guess that's a question for you.
I think it's one and the same, but it would be, again, it would be go forward with that plan that's been preliminary approved, right, city attorney? And so it's, if we re-engineer the whole thing, we're starting over, right? And so we understand that. And again, why we're here tonight is just to have this dialogue, and again, appreciate your feedback and input. And, we'd invite, all of you and your constituents to sit down and again, maybe we have the Festival of the Vine on our site right now because nothing else is happening other than the church buses parking there and causing me anxiety when I drive by. But seriously, we could look at doing that. Maybe two festivals. We've got enough land for two separate festivals, and get the community feedback and specifically your all's feedback on what you're hearing and what you think can be done there. Because at the end of the day, for us, it's thankfully it's a great site. It's the last real scalable site in downtown Geneva, and we have a chance to do something pretty special. And I think we really like the plan that we had set forth. It turns out we're not sure the market really did like that plan, and that's why I'm having this dialogue with you. It's not because every house sold out and every townhouse sold out and every apartment's rented and we've got Starbucks taking 5,000 square feet of retail on that first floor of the building, right? None of that's happened, actually. So I hope that answered your question.
And I guess I'm looking for confidence from you that come January 2021, we're not going to be having this same conversation. And you're going to be saying we need another 6 months or 9 months or a year to determine what we want to do. Is 6 months enough time that you can make this determination of what you want to do with this property?
So 6 months is definitely enough time for us to determine if the site plan that you're extending is something that we're going to do. Yes. Okay. We expect well in advance of that to be back in front of you with if we so choose to either finalize that plan or completely modify that plan and start over. We don't. I mean, again, this is our money and time ticking too. So
Sure.
we're as equally motivated by that timeline as you are.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Again, Alderman Marks or Alderman Kilberg?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. We have a second. The motion is to extend this agreement for another 6 months. In essence, buying time for Mr. Finley and others. How they choose to invest that time is up to them, whether it be the plan we've seen or perhaps something entirely new. Ms. Dawkins?
Maladra? Marks?
Aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Nay.
Clements?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Aye. Gilbert.
7-1.
Motion passes with 7 affirmative votes, 1 nay vote, and 2 absent. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 13C is to consider approval of resolution number 2020-41, authorizing a payment in lieu of required parking for the Nobel House restaurant to be located at 307 and 309 West State Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Bruno makes the motion,
Second.
and Alderman Caven makes the second. Ms. Dawkins?
Okay. So as you may be aware, the Noble House Restaurant that's currently at 305 West State Street is moving and expanding, and they would like to construct a permanent outdoor dining area on the north side of the building. The proposed outdoor dining area would provide seating for 64 additional guests, but would also require the removal of 2 private off-street parking spaces. Reducing the number of existing private off-street parking spaces is not permitted unless an equivalent amount of parking spaces can be located within 350 feet, or a payment in lieu may be made in the amount of $10,000 per parking space to the city. Nobel House has been unable to provide 2 parking spaces within that 350 feet and is therefore requesting to pay the $20,000 semi-annually over the course of the next 2 years. If approved, the payment would be used towards the city's ongoing efforts to construct appropriately located on-street or off-street public parking spaces. I believe Dave Cilio is here from the Nobel House, and also Director DeGroot is here for any questions.
Welcome, Dave. Any questions at all for Dave and/or Dave? Alderman Bruno?
Thank you, Mayor. Question for this Dave. If you could join us up here. Well, first, thanks for coming. Thanks for making the investment. It wasn't always easy to tell whether progress was going on in there, but
It's been a challenging run.
but good luck to you on that. And two things. One, do you have a timeline you expect to open this season yet, or?
Perfect world, we're hoping to have completion of inside construction done by the end of the month.
Oh,
All the
really?
finishes are going in right now, so we're close. The only delays with the patio has been the new power supply that's coming in. So they've been working in that alley for the last couple weeks. And one of the main reasons why we've not opened earlier is we had no power to supply the business and the neighboring businesses. The grid did not support the demand that was needed.
We've certainly heard that before.
Yep.
And I think, given our spate of 90-degree weather, having a patio on the north side of the building would seasonally have some advantages for you. So good luck to you. I'm assuming this passes.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for making the investment.
Anyone else from the dais for the proprietor of Nobel House? Alderman Marks or Alderman Kilberg?
No questions.
Nothing here.
No questions, Mayor.
Those damn old city blocks, huh, with the power and everything?
They're tough, but we're making it better.
Indeed you are.
Yes. So my one comment is, obviously there's, downtown Geneva is a destination area for dining, and limited seasonal outside dining is something that we would greatly appreciate. But the most relevant request now with COVID in phase 4 is the 50% occupancy. So whatever additional seating we can get, the sidewalk cafes have been a great success, and we're grateful that you've extended that timeline that we're allowed to dine outside or seat outside. But this patio will definitely, hopefully, allow certain businesses, including ourselves, to, get through a difficult winter, that we've got coming up.
It's a great use of that space. I mean, nobody knows it's back there, and once it's improved, it's going to be,
No one even knew it was parking spaces.
it's unbelievable,
No
isn't
one
it?
parked there.
Alderman Bruno's as old as I am. He remembers that's where we used to station ourselves prior to sneaking in the back door of the movie theater.
There you go.
Remember that?
Good times.
I didn't sneak into that theater. It's happened in my history.
Okay, got it. Anyone else? We have a motion, we have a second. Ms. Dawkins, please take the roll call.
Marks?
Aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Clements?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Overguy.
Maladra?
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0.
Motion passes with 8 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 2 absent.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Item 13D as in David is to consider approval of resolution number 2020-42, authorizing the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget amendments as presented in your packet. Is there a motion? Alderman Clements makes the motion.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Maladra. Ms. Dawkins.
Thank you. The resolution under consideration would authorize amendments to the fiscal year budget 2019-2020, which ended April 30th, 2020, for the mental health, TIF number 3, and the police pension funds. Funds for the aforementioned amendments will be provided by the use of fund balance. We have Finance Manager Cruz present if you have any additional questions. And you'll realize this is something that we do at the end of every fiscal year.
Right.
So that we can clean up everything before the auditors.
Questions or comments for Finance Manager Cruz and/or City Administrator Dawkins? Alderman Marks or Alderman Kilberg?
No questions, Mayor.
Not at this time.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais? Anything elucidating we need to worry about? Okay, good. Madam Recording Secretary, please take the roll.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Clements,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Overguy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0.
8 affirmative, 0 nay votes, and 2 absent. Motion passes. Thank you both. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session on the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body and pending litigation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Bruno. Seconded by Caven. Roll call, please.
Okay, Bruno,
Aye.
Clements,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Silver guy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
and Swanson.
Aye.
Motion passes with 8 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 2 absent. Ladies and gentlemen joining us in the audience, we are required to continue our social distancing guidelines, ask you to leave the building, and that is consistent with the Governor's Executive Order 2020-43. There is no action being taken following this closed session. If you would like to return to the meeting once closed session is adjourned and we're back in live session, you're more than welcome to do so. But we are unable to adjourn to our conference room and still maintain the 6 feet. So regrettably, we have to ask you to leave. And Cookie, if you could please leave your credit card, that'd be helpful.
And we'll take about a 2-minute, minute and a half break to let Pete get everything set up and pass out some information.
Great. It will need a motion to
Go back. Yeah.
return to open session. Is there a motion? Clements makes the motion,
Second.
seconded by Bruno. Roll call, please.
Bruno,
Aye.
Clements,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Silver guy.
Maladra, Marks,
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Now we have to return to?
Yep. A motion to return to open session, or, yeah,
Yeah.
would be in order. Motion by Swanson,
Second.
seconded by Bruno. Roll call vote, please.
Clements,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Silver guy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno.
Aye.
We're back in open session, folks. Any last minute comments, concerns, questions?
I will just make the note that next Monday, we do have capacity, occupancy, constraints. So we will be probably letting people, depending upon how many show up, likely we'll let a group in, we will ask them to leave so another group can come in. I know it's not ideal, but the ideal part is this is the one location that we can live stream the meeting as opposed to anywhere else we would have to record it and show it at a later date. So this way it's live stream, people can contemporaneously hear the discussion. We still have the ability to submit public comment via email, via Dropbox, all of those things. So we have as much of a procedure in place as we can possibly have, given the guidelines that we have under Phase 4.
Under the CARE Act, we have funds available for anything related to COVID-19. I guess my question is, I've seen other communities have gone to plexiglass for the dais. I'm saying the podium, we're going to be in there for 4 hours probably on Monday night. I think that there should be some efforts made to provide better biosecurity in light of what's all going on. We're going to have people that are going to be emotional, and even with a mask that can project the virus up to 12 feet. And I'm sitting on the wing down there, and you might say, well, you don't have to come. I think that other communities have taken those measures to protect their councils and staff, as well as residents of the community. I guess I would be interested in what other members of the council might feel as it relates to that, especially if we can apply funds to defray the cost, and I can't imagine it would be all that much.
If I just may clarify, are we talking, because I was envisioning on the side, which doesn't help unless you're leaning forward. I don't know if Dean is envisioning in front this way.
Well, I'm saying common sense in the public, and especially when you got somebody in front of you addressing the group, and you know that there's going to be emotion involved. And I mean, if anybody's been watching anything as it relates to this, it's conveyed through the air, and we're going to be capped we're going to be, we're going to be in the chambers there for 4 hours, and I just think that there should be some extra measures taken other than, well, wear a mask and try to, maintain 6 feet. Well, we're talking about sitting in there for 4 hours, and I think if anyone has it, I think it puts us all at risk. And
Does the fire department have a
I don't
thermal
know.
thing to check anybody?
We
Does
have,
anybody else have an
we can
opinion on
take
that,
temperature.
or you
But
guys all game?
Are we talking around?
You like the way it
I'm just
is?
trying to understand where he's talking.
Dean, we will be utilizing the temperature, what's that
Well,
called?
we weren't planning to take temperature because
we-
there are some considerations about that.
Right.
Whether we should be or not taking the public's temperature, but we can.
We certainly can. Are you asking for a, quote, shield at the podium or at the dais as well, or both?
Well, I'm just saying, especially if we're going to be there for 4 hours and we've got probably 50 people that are going to testify or offer comment. I mean, I'm just throwing out my thoughts on
Sure.
it. I don't know. Does anyone else there tonight have a thought on it?
Alderman Bruno, Clemens, just chime in, guys.
Thanks. I think my mental image that I was constructing as he was speaking seems like the most practical thing would be some sort of shield here. Is that even remotely a possibility?
I mean, I think anything's remotely possible. I'm just trying to
But
understand.
within a week and do
what-
like a
what
6
protects
feet away
who
from
where.
you know,
So
I think
again,
it's-
if it's,
I think it's people here projecting
I'm
is
talking
what he's
about
worried about.
shields on the wings, and then I think a plexiglass in front of each of the aldermen.
yeah, because we can put glass along this
in
way.
front of the mayor as well.
Okay.
And I think it could be something that could be assembled and could be temporary, and you could take it down fairly simple, and I don't think you're going to disrupt or damage the dais in any way.
We can certainly look at all aspects of how we can make it more.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm just throwing out my opinion on this. I'm one of 10, I'm just saying,
But I would clarify, it's not the CARES Act funding because we don't have any of that yet. It would be, yes, there is funding.
I understand.
There is
I've
funding
listened
also
to-
through FEMA.
I've listened to the Kane County Board discuss that, but I'm just saying it could be applied, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and to Dean's point, I'm certainly sympathetic with the idea of providing, think through what reasonable barriers are. I mean, if nothing else, it telegraphs to the community that we are serious about public safety, whether that's 3 sides for every alderman and cone of silence for the lectern. But I'm sympathetic and I'd like to see something.
We'll be creative.
Mike?
I was just going to ask you, does it make any difference if the fans are going, or can we get air circulating the whole time we're in here? With that
The
many people?
research I've done, I've seen other communities that's done it, and I mean, if we're making our restaurants do some of these things, or you're seeing restaurants do it, I think
Negative air pressure.
we're going to be exposed for a longer period of time than they are even.
Yeah, Dean, I don't disagree with you. I think next Monday night's going to be an aberration with respect to, until the next redevelopment idea percolates. But I totally agree. I think the imagery is important, certainly.
Well, we could be living with this for quite a while.
Oh,
Mayor.
no doubt. No doubt about it.
We will.
Yeah, I mean, we put a button in
Yeah.
at your location as it relates to security from a potential threat. I'm just saying this is also a threat.
Yes, it is.
It's an invisible threat that we should be attentive to as well. And I think a mask is great. And I think we can use a disinfectant. We can use on our hands, but I think that shield gives it makes a statement to the community, and I think it also provides us another level of security. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Does anyone object? Yeah. Just so you know, we had considered moving, of course, the location. high school auditorium, what have you. We can still only have 50 people maximum. Does anyone
Yeah.
object to having this meeting here? Strongly, okay.
Well, Kevin, are we going to be able to keep the 6-foot separation between all the aldermen?
No. We will not.
Does that cause a problem with what the governor has, what Phase 4 has asked for?
No, that's why it says to wear facial
Yeah.
coverings when you're unable to
Okay.
maintain social distancing.
Okay.
So but I will let you all know, we will look at what options are available and we will implement what measures we can before Monday.
I was just going to say, if we could go into a larger facility where more people were allowed, but if it's still only going to be the 50-person
That's the
max, I
problem.
think that it's important for the meeting itself to be televised and recorded so that as many people who are interested or want to attend virtually are still able to hear the dialogue and the discussion.
Because theoretically speaking, in the middle of the meeting, someone could email us a comment.
Yes, and it comes right to mind.
Yeah, it comes right to Stephanie during the meeting, so it's a live, lack of a better word, chat.
Contemporary.
But, yeah, contemporaneous
The key word
communication.
is contemporaneously.
Yep.
Is it possible for someone to do like video chat live?
So that gets more challenging because of the number of video screens we're allowed, which is why, again, we've encouraged people to either provide comment in advance or to provide comment during the meeting via email, or they can wait to be admitted into the meeting. But we've looked at the various options for letting people, and because you don't know who all's coming in and so many of the stories that you've read about meetings getting crashed, and we know that the WebEx only supports 25 video cams. So that's our concern there.
And this is probably not a great idea, but just throw it out there. Would people be allowed to send, like, pre-record their message on video? But then we have no control over what they're saying and they could ramble on
Well,
forever.
it's not that we don't have control, but again, I would encourage either by email or a letter Dropbox, any comments that are received in advance of the meeting will be posted to the website, just like your all's questions are every week. So we will gather all of those, and those will all be available. You will have those in advance, and they will be on the website for anybody else who wants to see them, as long as they come to us before noon on Monday. Anything that comes after that would then be read into the record if it comes to my email at the appropriate time.
If someone wanted to request theirs to be read into the record out loud, they do that. I'm trying to encourage people to stay home. I wonder if that
Sure.
would work.
Of course, that would require then, Mr. City Attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone submitted something to be read into the record and that something was not germane, could the chair rule this is not germane?
Sure.
Okay,
My preference would be if someone were to read a statement into the record, they would just supply the document or the email to cut to the chase, but that's certainly a
Because
use
it-
of time
yeah.
that's permissible.
Because again, anything that's submitted will be available to the public. So. And you all.
anything else? A motion to adjourn's in order?
So moved.
Bruno makes the motion, roll call, Ms. Dawkins?
Bruno,
Aye.
Clemens.
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Haven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Silver guy.
Maladra,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everyone, thank you, Dean, thanks, Rich.
Letters back.